Hey everybody! So today's video is completely different from what I had in mind earlier when I filmed the first part of it, and I decided, based on how things ended up going, to make this more of a story time of what you should and what you shouldn't do when you're building your engine. So originally I planned to make this video on cylinder head resurfacing because when I was diagnosing my engine I found that there was coolant in cylinder number 8, and I had assumed that the cylinder head was warped and that's the reason why it was leaking, but it turned out not to be the case. But I had filmed a whole video based on that idea that I thought it was the cylinder head. So here's like a little snippet of it or whatever. And I'm building an LS engine for my 1972 Firebird, and I decided to do it on a budget because I'm a broke college student. So I decided to save money where I can, and I decided to reuse some cylinder heads for my build. And the problem was I didn't resurface anything on them, and so I just plopped them on my engine. This is my LS engine that I've been building for a while now. It's a 6.7 liter Generation 3 LS, and I've been having a weird issue with it. The car it's a new engine, so the car currently runs, and I've been trying to idle it, but I've been noticing a weird problem happening. The car idles, I turn it on, but sometimes when I'm cranking, the engine jolts and completely stops, and then I can no longer crank it. It almost seems like the starter is broken or something's going on in the transmission. But I decided to get an inspection camera and look inside of the cylinders in order to see what's really going on. And what I found was that on cylinder number 8 there was water, and there was a lot of it. And look, I'm gonna show you guys how it looks like. If I can find the hole. As you can see, when we look inside of this cylinder, there's like little specks, what look to be like some kind of wet marks that are now dry. And as you can see on the cylinder walls, there's a little bit of rust specks. And you know, you look at this is a little bit concerning, but let me show you now when I tilt it a little bit down. And as you can see at the corner of the inspection camera, there's a puddle of coolant sitting in the cylinder. Anyway, I further took down the top end of the engine, and I had discovered that cylinder number 6, well, the intake runner was completely filled up with gasoline, and the valve was closed, so it was holding all that gasoline on top. But that's when I realized that on that cylinder, which is number 6, the injector was stuck wide open when I had the key on, and I never knew. And then I'm putting these things all together, and then I figured out the whole story once I took apart the engine, because I took it apart yesterday. At first I thought it was going to be an easy fix, and I was just going to take the cylinder head to the machine shop, which I did, and the machine shop charged me 25 bucks per head, and it took like 30 minutes. And at first I was like so upset at myself because I was like, man, how could I didn't get this just resurfaced ahead of time, and I would have never had this leaking problem. But it turns out that the heads were fine to begin with. It's something happened to the engine that made the heads pop off and not seal anymore, and that's why it started leaking coolant. And I'm gonna share with you guys exactly what happened, and it's crazy, I'll tell you that. And since this is my first engine that I'm building alone and I don't have the help of my dad, to have something happen like this is like, well, it's like doomsday, but also it's a really great learning curve that I have to get over, and you know, hopefully I won't make this mistake again. Man, I just realized a huge portion of this video, I recorded it, but the focus was completely off. And the portion that I recorded was like super raw, so you know, like that was my reaction at the moment. So I'm just gonna leave it in there. I'm really sorry that it's not in focus. Hopefully it's not too much of a bother. I'll try to put in other little B-roll videos so it's not that noticeable. But thank you for watching. So I had to take apart the engine because when I had the heads off, I noticed that I still couldn't turn the engine anymore. It was like frozen for some reason. And I was thinking, because there was recent rains in California, like a whole bunch. I had my car outside with just the whole block exposed. It started raining, and I assumed that a lot of water got on top of the pistons and froze the piston rings or something like that, because I did see a little bit of like rust spotting. It turned out not to be the case because I pulled the engine out to really make sure and see what the problem was, and I found something crazy that I never thought it could happen, because I guess I don't have that much experience with seeing shit like this. But man, let me just show you. Let me just shut up and show you. I don't know if you can see this good, but that ain't straight. That's supposed to be straight. This connecting rod is supposed to be pretty straight, and it's not. And this is a forged connecting rod, so this is like a lot tougher than the original one that would be in an LS engine. Yeah, it fucking caved in. And let me tell you why this happened, and I'll put it together now. Now that I was taking little mental notes while I was taking apart the engine from the intake to the heads, I can finally put together exactly what happened here. Okay, so what happened was, on injector number 6, and this is why you never, this is a lesson here, never buy used injectors off of eBay. Oh my god. I'm a broke college student, right? And I spent most of my money on this engine. And when it came time to choose injectors, I thought I had a set here, and I thought I was gonna scramble something together. But the original LS1 injectors only are 28 foot-pounds of that's the size of the injector. And since I have a stroker engine, well, they didn't really make sense, and it felt like, a stock injector can barely support a stock LS1, so I needed to get something bigger. So I looked on the interwebs, and I looked on eBay, and I saw like, a cheap injector for right now would be a LS2 injector. So I was on eBay, and if you guys ever search for injectors on eBay, you'll see that there's like, you can buy stock AC Delco genuine GM branded injectors for like $80 for the whole set. When you go to AutoZone, it's $80 per injector, but on eBay you can get a genuine set of AC Delcos for $80, which obviously they're completely fake. And that's the problem with like shopping online. If for injectors on eBay, you should really just do it on Summit, because just stay away from eBay if you're shopping for injectors, because you either buy a fake pair or fake set of injectors, or you get what I got. And I thought I was being smart on eBay. What I did was I'm gonna completely avoid all of the fake injectors on eBay, because they can like have so many differences in the injector, or they can flat out not work at all. And so I kind of wanted to avoid that. So I thought I was being smart, and I ordered a used set of LS2 injectors from a 2007 Corvette, I think it was, and I specifically wanted them used and off of a running car, because I'm like, oh, these original AC Delcos, they last a long time, or so I thought, and so I ordered a used set. I think it was like $150, and $150 is a lot of money for me, but if I were to get like a new set of like, I don't know, 50-pound injectors, it would be like $400. So $150 was like cheap, and was like a good like temporary solution for the injector problem that I had, or the lack of injectors that I had for my engine. And so I ordered the LS2 set, and I never thought to check that they were like defective in any way. And so I just installed them all up, and it happened to be that injector number 6 was stuck wide open. So as I turned the key on, the the fuel pump started to work and started to pressurize the system. And as it pressurized, I have a little gauge on my fuel rails. I noticed that it would slightly, like, the pressure would slightly leak down, and I thought that was that's just what happens with fuel pumps after you after you pressurize the whole system. I thought they just like gradually go down, but never would I have thought that the injector would be stuck wide open, and that little pressure going down was actually all the gasoline escaping from from the injector number 6 into the intake. I'll just describe the day that everything went to crap. I just got in my tuning software, HP Tuners, and I I was like so motivated to get my car tuned, and so I hooked up a new battery because I had let the battery die. And I turned on the key, and then I wanted to hook up HP tuners, and I was setting up. I was getting the tokens to set up HP tuners, and I had the key on the whole time for like 2 minutes or something. And afterwards, I put a tune for the injectors because the injectors were larger than the stock ones that were in the tune file. Once I did that, I tried cranking, and it would crank, and then the engine would jolt, and I would always think, at the time I thought it was something with the transmission because I had also tinkered with the T56, and I thought, oh, there's something going on with the clutch, and the clutch is grabbing the engine, and that's the reason why the whole, as I'm cranking, the whole engine, like, it shakes violently, like it'll shake, like it'll be rotating, and then the engine will shake and completely stop. And then that would scare me, and I thought, oh, it's something to do with the clutch, like the throwout bearing clearance was wrong or something, and I was hoping to God that was the problem. And then I thought a little bit more, and I realized that the whole thing rotates with the engine, and nothing should come in contact. The throwout bearing doesn't have any effect on the rotating engine to make it stop in that way. Anyways, let me just go through and explain what I think happened, and probably what most likely happened to make this piston bend, or this connecting rod and piston to break and bend like this. So key was open, or key was on, injector was stuck wide open, and it would just be filling up the cylinder with gasoline. And as I try to crank it, as the piston would come back up in the cylinder, there was like a puddle of gasoline there, and with no way to go because it's the compression stroke, it compressed all of it, but the piston had nowhere to go because it was already filled up with gasoline, so it could only go one direction, which was back down. And I imagined that as this was happening, another cylinder sparked, and that one did push the crankshaft to rotate, and so this one was trying to come up, and it just squashed it basically. And all that pressure that got exerted with all the gasoline stuck at the very top, I'm guessing that also popped off the seal of the cylinder head, and that's what caused the cylinder right next to it, this is number 6, it caused number 8 to start leaking coolant, and then that cylinder just started filling up with coolant. And yeah, that's pretty much how I think it went down. And unfortunately, the connecting rod's busted. The piston is busted as well. I see there's a crack right here. I'll do a close-up, but there's a crack on here, and I think I snapped one of the oil rings on this thing. So this is junk at this point. Good news is I have a couple of buddies that can get me some replacement parts and make them kind of exact. So hopefully I'll get that fixed soon. Yeah. Honestly, I've been dealing with this issue because I've been feeling the car or the engine jolt for a couple of months now, since I think November. But I've been so stressed out about the issue because it was like a mystery problem. Like, it would happen sometimes, and those sometimes would be when I would leave the key on and the injector would start to fill up the cylinder. And so this problem only happened sometimes, and then I would shut the car off and leave it for weeks, and then by then all the gasoline would seep through the oil rings, that the problem wouldn't be there anymore. And then I would try again a different day, and then the car would idle and run fine. And then if I leave the key on too much, then I wouldn't realize at the time, but it would fill up the cylinder, and then the huge problem would happen again. And now it went to the point where it just completely broke the piston, and then it froze the engine altogether. I'm glad that this happened, because now I know it's not some other issue. I know this seems like catastrophic engine failure, but now, like, the rest of the engine looks completely good. As you guys saw, I have like some footage of the engine. The cylinder is untouched. I would think that the piston breaking into the cylinder would cause it some harm, but everything seems fine. Worst case scenario, just need the piston, the connecting rod, some new bearings, some new oil rings, and let's go back. Let's reinstall this. And the plan is that in a month I can get this thing back running. And you know, everything else on this engine is like perfect. So, you know, hopefully that will reign true and I will get this thing running in a month. But yeah, I would definitely say do not buy any injectors off of eBay. Just get them from Summit. Get them from somewhere where they're reputable and they're brand spanking new. I mean, how much is this going to cost me, this repair? Like, if it were to happen to someone else that doesn't have the tools or the way to even remove the engine from their car, for this to happen to them, like on their first startup, would be, you know, just devastating, and it would cost thousands of dollars to fix. And luckily for me, I could probably source all the parts for like $500, and so it's a $500 mistake for me, which it sucks. But I've already put so much money in this engine that, you know, $500 more is like, man, just take it already. You know, I just want to see this thing running already. So yeah. Anyways, guys, so originally I thought this video was going to be about, you know, cylinder head warpage and getting them resurfaced, but, you know, ended up being something way crazier, and all caused by an injector. This whole thing by an injector. So keep a lookout out there if you're planning to use used injectors. I would strongly recommend testing them way before you put them on your car, because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Paid $150, ended up costing me $500, and I still have to go buy a $400 or $500 set of injectors. So, you know, there you go. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one, hopefully with some progress on this engine. Thank you.